There you go. Then you have a decision gate. And the change request passes the filter. If it's accepted, then you say, is the deliverable affected? Yes or no. If it's rejected, then you send a rejection notice. Accepted, okay. Does it affect any of our deliverables? Yes, it does. You move down. If it doesn't, you send a rejection notice. If it does affect the deliverable, then the project manager will prepare an impact statement for that change request, and they're going to identify, is it a minor impact, moderate impact, or major impact? And based on which one of those things is going to identify how you communicate it. So if it's a minor impact, then the project manager just reviews and can approve or deny it. If it is a moderate impact, then the project manager and the stakeholder will need to review it and approve or deny it. If there is a major impact, it would need to be approved by the project manager, the sponsor, because it could affect funding, and the stakeholder. And then if it's authorized, then you actually build a communication plan for the change, you execute it, and you rebalance your project accordingly. If the change is denied, then that is another time when a rejection notice would be sent. But the biggest thing is you're communicating. You're not just getting a change and saying, oh, this is good and we're going to do it. Oh, yeah, it meets everything. Yeah, and then nobody knows where those changes came from. Or if you get a change and you're rejecting it, it also needs to get a rejection notice so that they can know it's not going to be implemented. So there is no false expectation midway or at the end of the project that it has been done or it's been implemented into your project. So it's very important to communicate it. It's equally as important as making sure that you update all plans related to it as well. Approved change requests are those requests that have been received and approved through the integrated change control plan, and then they are going to be ready to be scheduled for implementation. So approved changes can include corrective actions, preventative actions, defects, repairs, or updates. Any of those things can be approved changes. Guidelines for managing project changes include making sure that your change control system is cost effective, establishing and making use of any existing change control boards that are there because they have the experience and you don't have to start over from scratch, teaching them what to do, teaching them who to notify, teaching them what to do if it's rejected. Using an existing change control board is like just kind of a no-brainer. Documenting the effect of those changes, making those updates throughout all of your plans, updating your baselines, and just basically adjusting every plan that could be affected. If it changes the timeline, you're going to update your schedule. If it changes the cost, you're going to update the cost management plan. You kind of get the gist of that. If you have to bring on a specific new resource in order to do it, that could update your human resources plan. I mean, everything has the potential to be impacted by a change, and it needs to be evaluated. You're going to want to get approval from the appropriate parties, kind of like we talked about before. You want to coordinate it across all knowledge areas as appropriate. I think I've already mentioned that. You want to update your performance measures. You want to see how it's going to impact your milestones, and just basically any type of corrective actions that you're going to need based on what it is. Before we move on to the next section, I want to make sure, does anyone have any questions about managing change? Or I'm sorry, that's what I'm about to talk about. Any questions? Okay. Nice people. We're going to move on. So managing project issues. Wait a minute. Bear with me just one moment. I'm not sharing the screen. I do apologize. My computer's moving slow. I wanted to check one thing before we move on. Oh, and just so you guys know, in case you didn't hear it, the session is being recorded. I wasn't able to start the recording, but it does look like Philip was able to start it for me. So the session is being recorded. For those of you guys who might not have heard it say this session is now being recorded, it is being recorded. Okay. Well, while I'm waiting for the computer to catch up with my brain, we'll keep going. Managing project issues, here's when you're recognizing when a risk becomes an issue. You're going to attack that issue with the optimal action to achieve project success. When you're establishing your risk management plan, you may have already decided what the optimal action is, and those are for the ones that you can anticipate. There are always going to be those issues that you did not anticipate where you will need to come up with the action when it occurs. You will collaborate with your relevant stakeholders on the best approach, and you'll go forward with resolving it. There's no specific deliverable tied to this or a specific tool. It's just something that I don't think there's ever been an issue-free project, so it's just something that you just always want to be ready for. An issue is a current condition or situation that may have an impact on the project's objectives. Basically, it's an action item that you must address. So common areas that we consider issues or common areas for issues are scope change control, schedule control, cost control. You may have estimated that the cost related to training or something like that was going to be $500, and then when it comes in, it's actually $1,000. You would need to adjust your cost management plan accordingly. So these are just different things that you did not anticipate that could occur. Project variance analysis, quality, risk, procurement, communications. There's nothing worse, and especially right now during COVID, what a lot of people are experiencing are material and supply delays that are brought on by the pandemic and a shortage in different areas. So for a lot of projects that are going on right now, you could encounter issues that you just never could have foreseen, because who could predict that we would have a pandemic hit the world that's been impacted for about 2 years. No one could have predicted that. So those are those types of things that could impact your project and cause you to have to come up with a game plan for how to address it. One of the common ones that is cost control. You may lose funding, and that can impact your project. So risk and issues, risk are focused on the future. They can be positive or negative. You will document your risk in the risk register. You'll come up with an appropriate response, which you call a risk response. You'll actually also prioritize them, like if there's a high probability that they will occur or a low probability that they will occur. Issues are focused on the present. An issue is right now, it's real. A risk is like you're forecasting it could happen, and an issue is it's right in front of me and I need to address it. It's going to always be negative because you didn't anticipate it. You will document it in the issues log, and you will do a response that they call a workaround. You're going to come up with a workaround for the issue. You'll have a risk response and you'll have a workaround for your issue. And so just looking at them side by side, that's a comparison, and, be prepared to understand and know the difference. An issue log is a document where information about issues is recorded and monitored. You use it to track problems, inconsistencies, conflicts that occur during the life of the project, and it does require investigation in order to work towards the resolution. So just an example here on the screen is the issue ID number was 25, so the 25th issue that's occurred since the start of the project. It was a truck strike. When it was open, when it was due, what was the priority, who owned it, and then you would track what the response or the workaround is and whether or not it's open. So, and this impacts tasks that are on the critical path. So more than likely, this could cause a delay in your overall schedule or your project. So you can see how that would be schedule control. As issues arise, you want to promptly add them to the issues log. You don't want to ignore them. You don't want to say, well, this may resolve itself, so I'm not going to put it down. It is better to document it and do a workaround and come up with it than to ignore it altogether, because a small issue can rapidly grow into a much larger issue. The issue should have an owner who's responsible for tracking the progress of the workaround and reporting it back to the project manager. You should set a realistic due date, and every reasonable attempt should be made to meet it. And your issues log, or addressing the items on your issues log, should become a standing agenda item for every status meeting, and with you addressing progress and how it's going. Don't hesitate to escalate the issue if it begins to have a major effect. But again, the biggest thing is you do not want to ignore it. You do not want to ignore an issue and think that it's going to resolve itself. It is better to err on the side of caution than to have it blow back in your face later. Guidelines for resolving your issue, you're going to use whatever your operational process assets are within that company. So you're going to use your issues log template. If they don't have one, then you would create one. More than likely, most people who have been doing this for a while will probably have something that they're already using to track it. You're going to want to train your project team members to properly report potential issues and to determine, you always have them put who's the owner on it. You're going to want to enter it, track the number. You're going to want to find the owner and the due date. You're going to want to monitor it. You're going to want to have a workaround, and you're going to want to assess the impact of the response. When it is resolved, you close the issue. So that would be updating it and kind of keeping it going. And I'm at another stop where I need to see if my computer caught up with me. Let's see. That's crazy. Okay. Any questions from anybody while I'm playing with my computer? Solid more one way, scanner turkey. No questions. I'm not used to this.
Yeah, none yet.
Okay. I don't know if that's an indication that I explained that well, or maybe you guys are just checked out on me. I'm not sure which one it is yet. We'll see.
I have a question. I got a question. I'll break the ice.
There you go.
What is a positive risk?
There you go.
Can you give me an example of what a positive risk would be?
That's a really good question. So maybe you were told and you anticipated that, okay, so COVID, let's just pretend that this particular supply is it has a lead time of 3 weeks for delivery. So you planned accordingly, but it actually came in a week. So now your project timeline can be shortened and you can actually move your timeline up. That would be positive, right? Because that would help you finish earlier than what you've originally communicated or expected. So you had a risk because of COVID that
you had a risk because of COVID
China
that
we're taking 3 weeks.
China,
But
we're
it came in
taking
a week.
3 weeks, but it came in a week.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
I did find what I was looking for, and so I want to kind of back up and see if you guys can answer some questions for me. It looks like you do have an activity in your student guide, and you may or may not be doing these along the way, but I'm going to give you a scenario, and I want to see if one of you wonderful people will volunteer to try to answer this question for me. Okay, so here's the scenario, and I'm pretty sure it's in your student guide, so I'm not really doing something off the top of my head if you want to read along. But it's the 234 West Adams project has a tight schedule. It also has a strict budget. You are concerned that any possible changes could negatively affect the project's performance baseline. You need to ensure that there is a standardized method for handling changes. Your development company has included a change control board in this process. So that's the scenario. So now here's my question. Who will you involve in the change control process for the new build project? And anybody.
I would say you would engage the person that owns that task. So the project person on the team that owns that task, you would engage them, I would think.
Okay. Second part of the question. So I get where you're going. It's not quite the answer I'm looking for. You're not wrong, because those individuals you're naming could be key stakeholders, right? So, but I'm looking for a specific group based on the information I gave you in the scenario. Okay, and is it Leanne? Like Diane, but Leanne?
You got it,
Am I
yes.
right?
Yeah, I'm not sure if you can hear me, but that's correct.
Yes, that's what I was looking for. I was looking for the change control board. Thank you. That's the one I was looking for.
Good deal.
And what is the role? So let's take it a step further. What is their role in the change control process?
To review and approve the changes.
Yes. And so full answer. And so thank you both, because together you gave me the combined answer I'm looking for. And so the change control process should involve the development company, senior executives, your strategic planning individuals, or those key stakeholders. It should also involve the change control board. Now, what you're looking for is for this group of individuals to identify what would be considered a significant enough change from each baseline and that would require management approval, and you would include that. You may also include your project management officer, your PMO. So between the two of you, you gave me what I'm looking for. Now, next question. Since I've got you guys talking to me now and I'm happy, here's my next question. I actually messed up my little page. Hold up. Let me get back to where I was trying to go. I got way too happy. Let me back up. Come on. That's not where I was. Okay, there we go. That's nice now. And I apologize for the delay, everybody. I made my screen too big, so when I'm trying to scroll, it jumps either too far or not far enough. But we're having some minor problems. I don't know. But where I want you. Yeah. Okay, so you have a carpenter that informs you that the window and the door installation will have a significant delay. They're asking for a change that's coming up in the subsequent scheduled dates. What action should you take first? Now, in this case, and I'm hoping you guys are looking at number 2 in the activity guide, I'm going to give you choices. So I'm going to read the question to you again. The carpenter informs you that the window and door installation will have a significant delay, and they're asking for a change in the subsequent schedule dates. What action should you take first? And here are your choices. Coordinate the changes across the knowledge area. Document the change request in a change control system. Update the project plan to reflect changes. Bring the information to the stakeholders for evaluation and approval. What action should you take first?
Option 2.
Yeah, document that bad boy.
Okay, and that is the correct answer. Now, let me ask you the next question. What will we do next? Okay, so we're going to document the change request in the change control system first and foremost. But then what are you going to do next? And here are your options. Coordinate the changes across knowledge areas. Update the project plan to reflect changes. Bring the information to the stakeholders for evaluation and approval. What are you going to do next?
Look for approval.
Okay, so bring the information to the stakeholders for evaluation and approval. Okay, so now you've gone to the change, you've documented it, you've got approval. Now what's next? And here's what's left. Coordinate the changes across knowledge areas. Update the project plan to reflect changes. What's next?
Update.
Okay. So you're saying that coordinate the changes across knowledge areas is last thing you would do?
No, I think that will be first, right? Like before updating the project plan.
I think that you would do it second. And let me explain why. What do you think the value in being able to tell the stakeholders all of the knowledge areas that the proposed change impacts? So what if your change impacts cost, it impacts schedule, and it impacts resources? You think the stakeholders might want that when they're evaluating it and before they gave you approval? What do you think?
Yes.
And to help you understand why I'm saying that, let me back up and show you this flow chart again. Can you guys see the flow chart?
Yes.
Yeah. So, what do you think? We'll go back one more here. And so updating the related plans was last, right? And so in the question, the way I phrased the question, that makes the step where you update the project plan to reflect changes the last thing that you do. Everybody agree?
Yeah,
You don't agree?
Agree.
I do.
Agreed.
Okay. I was hoping you did. You could tell me why, but okay. I like a little healthy disagreement is good for us, so I'm okay with that. Okay, here's your next one. Now, this is not a multiple choice. This is going to require somebody to talk to me. The carpenter contacted the window and the door supplier and was able to secure half the windows before the next regularly scheduled shipment. But based on our change control process, what further action, if any, should we take? And as a reminder, we've got a significant delay in the window and door installation. Now, the carpenter comes back and says, oh, good news. I can get half of it for you on time, and only half the order is delayed. So based on our change control process, what will we need to do? What, if anything, will we need to do? And as far as I'm concerned, there are no wrong answers, because whatever answer you give me, we can talk about it. So what do you think? What will we do next? We know we've already documented the change request in the change control system. So we know we're going to do that, right? But what else do we need to know? Like, are we going to update our issues logs? What are we going to do?
I would say you're gonna update the issues log, and then I think that you could reevaluate the impact of the change, because if the delay isn't going to be as significant and they can start to work with the first batch, that might allow you to make some changes to that significant delay and make it so that it isn't delayed as much.
And is it Angelin, or is it Angelin or Angeline?
It's Angie. It's Angie. Angie's fine.
Okay. Angie. So here's a secret about me. I have like heroes, and my heroes are just based on the person that was brave enough to give me the answer. So right now, Angie, you are my hero.
I'll take it.
Okay. And I explain this, Angie, so that you don't get offended when the next person that gives me the answer is my hero too. Okay.
I won't.
Okay. All right. And that is
So
a
I
great
think-
answer. Absolutely.
Yeah. Great job, Gigi. I was just gonna kind of add on to that, because she talked about the impact. It says one of the things that we were supposed to do was prepare an impact statement, I guess, and then evaluate, like she said, how big is it? Is it minor, moderate, or major? And in this case, it sounds like it's pretty much between moderate and major. So it might need a stakeholder review.
Absolutely. I agree. Good job. And you're my new hero. Who wants to go for? There's something extra in here. And I think that based on what these two heroes have already said, there's one more thing that's like tickling my brain that you could do from this too, because I'm thinking about agile. I'm thinking about like different things. Okay, so first, the whole order was delayed. Now only half the order is delayed. So that changes the whole impact that this has on us. That changes what our workaround is going to be, right? So what else could we do here from an agile perspective, just to see if you guys are with me?
Put the windows in.
So we're going to get half of the windows now, and then we're going to get the remaining when the regular shipment arrives.
So would you install that half then, and then just write down that you installed that half?
That's possible. If you were working on an agile methodology, if you're working that, you could look at seeing if the first half could be installed in this particular, PI or whatever, and if maybe the next one could be in the next one. Like maybe that could relieve some of the impact of the overall impact to your project by maybe spacing that out based on when they're now expected, right? Because what if only 50% of your project was going to be done, so you really only needed 50% of the windows and the doors at that point? So maybe it didn't experience a delay at all if they gave it to you half and half, right? Depending on what the true impact of that whole schedule was. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, we could come up with a bunch of scenarios. We can't, because it really depends on the whole project. So you can see why you take a look at the whole plan to see what the impact on it would be, right? Next question. How do you ensure that all functional areas are aware of the change that has been requested and how it may impact them? So how do you make sure that all functional areas are aware of the requested changes and the impact of them to them? What you think? Anybody?
Like with the stakeholders communication strategy or communication plan?
Yeah, you would look to your communication plan and how you're communicating it. So depending on the appropriate level of communication, the change control board would notify the right representatives from each functional area. They could, right? Or maybe the project manager sends out weekly emails that give updates to those people that, you know, may be impacted by changes. I mean, there's several different ways you can do it, but it does basically require you to address it in your communication plan, right? Okay. All right. Now that we're on a roll, I got you talking to me. I got one more activity, and then we'll move on to the last part of this. But just in case you were like, oh gosh, she's gonna make us talk all night. Yes. And then after we do this activity, I'll give you guys a quick break, and then we'll pick up on the last part of our topic, which is ensuring knowledge transfer to make sure your project stays continuous or to ensure continuity in your project. Now, for this example, we still got 234 West Adams. We're still the West Adams project, but now we're managing the project, and the West Adams project is nearing completion. The Andrews family wants to take possession of their new home in about a month. There have been several unforeseen things that have happened within the past week, and they are the subject of discussion at this project status meeting or at your weekly project status meeting. And you need to decide if these are risks or issues. So we're going to be deciding if these are risks or issues so that you can react accordingly. So first, can some wonderful person who was paying attention tell me the difference between a risk and an issue?
A risk can be positive or negative, and an issue is negative.
Which is focused on the future?
The risk is on the future, and the issue is in the present.
Okay. And what is the response to a risk call?
A risk response, and an issue is a workaround.
There you go. Thank you. Where do you document the risk?
In the risk log, in the issue log. No, I lost.
Okay.
You don't document the risk log.
Yeah. Where do you get somebody else? Where do you document the risk?
In the risk
register.
Yes. So I wanted to tell you were close. And then where do you document the issue?
Issues log.
Okay. Good job. Okay, so now what should an issues log contain? Now that we know we're going to document it, what should it contain? What information?
Maybe a unique ID.
Okay. What else?
An owner.
The status.
Okay.
The end date and start date.
Okay, good.
The priority.
Did somebody say priority?
Yes, priority.
Okay, cool beans. And there's one more thing.
The ID.
No, we've already said that one.
Oh, you did?
The workaround?
Yes, or the selected response. Very good. You guys got them all. Good job. You're making me feel like you were listening to me. I'm like really happy right now. Like you just don't know. You are earning your break. Okay. Which of the following items are issues? I'm going to name a couple of things, and I want you to tell me if it's an issue. So which of the following items are an issue? Okay, you ready? And it's still the West Adams project. They got a letter from the bank stating that the mortgage rate will increase in 3 weeks. Is that an issue? Yes or no?
No,
Yes.
Okay. For the person who said no, tell me why not.
because it's for like the future. Like you have 3 weeks to plan how you're going to respond to that increase.
So this is true. It is future, but in the case of moving into a home, think about if you were moving into a home and you were getting ready to take possession of this home in a month. Would something that's happening in 3 weeks be now considered the present or the future?
The present.
Yes. So it is indeed, it is an issue. Okay. And it's because of that part of what they gave you. They told you that the family takes possession in about a month. So something happening in 3 weeks is now important. That's present. If they were taking possession in 6 months, I get where you're going, but you get where I'm going? Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
So here's the next one. The Andrews family has a camping trip, which is scheduled during the time that they are to close on their house. Is that an issue?
Yep.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, you guys want to know what's really, to make you laugh, what's really funny about the example? Now, this is straight out of the guide from PMI, but it's really funny that they're using a house and using like new homes and everything because I'm a licensed realtor. So they're right up my alley with this one. Okay. I couldn't have picked a better section to cover. But yeah, what about a possible decrease in the price of the landscaping work? Is that an issue? A possible decrease in the price of the landscaping work. Is that an issue?
The risk.
Yeah, because it
Correct.
could be future as and they're already moved in, and that's kind of.
The
Be
reason
positive.
why it is a risk and not an issue is that it is positive.
Oh.
And a risk is always,
Negative.
an issue is always, I'm sorry, I said the wrong thing. An issue is always negative. And also it's a possible decrease, right? So it's future because we don't really know when it's going to happen yet, right? The next thing, next week's scheduled building inspection. Next week's scheduled building inspection. Is that an issue?
It's not a risk or an issue, right?
No, because of the keyword scheduled. Right?
As an
It's
it was
already
scheduled to pass to occur in the future.
The reason why it's not is scheduled, which means it's already in the plan.
Right.
Yeah. Now, if they would have said that there was a delay and we needed to reschedule the building inspection, that would have been different. But this is something we should already be expecting. It should already be in the plan, you know, so it's not an issue or a risk. So that's a good question. Okay. So thank you guys for playing along. So let's go ahead. I don't know what the other instructors have been doing. Do they only give you a 10-minute break, 15-minute break? What have they been doing? Or have you been getting breaks?
No, we've been getting breaks.
Okay. And how long?
Usually 10 minutes at the most.
Yep.
Okay. Because that was my instinct, was to give you a break and ask for you guys to be back at 6:15. But I didn't know if you guys would go, oh, she's mean, but you know. So let's take a break. and come back at 6:15. I'll still be here if there's someone who wants to ask me a question during the break. I'm not going anywhere, but we're going to break and come back at 6:15. Okay? You don't have to hang up. You can just leave your phone on mute, but you can walk away from it.